Dear listener, what you're about to hear may well change your life. This is Adrian Shephard reporting from Earth Colony Radio on Chrome. You're listening to How Many Years Too Soon, an interview with the legendary Helios Creed from the seminal band Chrome, founded in San Francisco in 1975 by Damon Edge with the first album, The Visitation. Helios joined in 76 with the release of Alien soundtracks. Employing cut-up and collage tape compositions and processed sounds, they quickly gained a cult following. The psychedelic connoisseur Julian Cope once said of them, "Theirs was a cyberpunk vision of the future that came a decade before the term was coined." 38 albums and 12 singles later, Chrome and Helios Creed embark on the 2014 European tour with a new album, Feel It Like a Scientist. Helios, welcome, and thank you for taking this time for an interview, and welcome guitarist Lou Minatti. Firstly, I'd like to say that it's very suitable that we make this interview via these kind of remote technologies, San Francisco and Berlin, without even seeing each other. Reminds me when I first came across your albums and wondered who could be behind the mysterious collaged artworks on the album covers. I feel I'm caught a little bit between the devil and the deep blue sea here. Firstly, because I'm sure many of your die-hard fans know your incredible history, and those who are unaware of it, of just how influential Chrome and Helios Creed have become. Can you briefly describe how Chrome came into focus?
Well, it's a band that, of course, Damon created with Gary and Mike and John. And I was living in San Francisco at the time, playing with a man named Sleeper, who's Chris Berry. I did a radio interview with him the other day. And I just wanted to be in a band, you know. I was just a kid back then, you know, as far as I could tell right now. But I had a friend that was playing violin who became my bass player, Gary Spain. And he said he was in a band. And I go, what's the name of your band? Chrome. And they said they just made an album. And I wanted to hear it. I go, what do you guys play? Blues? I go, everybody plays blues. You know, I'm sick of it, you know? And it was around 76, you know, and I heard the record, and it was The Visitation, which you know that record, right? Yeah, and I was listening to it, and I really liked, you know, it in a lot of ways. But I figured that something in my head just told me that they need me. This guy, who's ever... I asked Gary, I go, who's producing this stuff? And he goes, a guy named Damon Edge. And I go, and it just came to my mouth. I go, you guys need me, you know? And he goes, all right, I'll set up an interview, because Mike Lowe just quit, and so did John, the guitar player. Mike was the singer, and John, they just sort of quit because the record didn't sell. And Damon and Gary wanted to keep going. Well, it didn't work out with Gary either, so it just wound up, you know, me and Damon hit it off, and we made Alien soundtracks. We just kept going from there.
Going through your material, going through your lyrics the other day, I found that on Half Machine Lip Moves, on Zombie Warfare, the first line, I feel it like a scientist.
Yeah.
That must be the inspiration for the new album.
Yeah,
you got it.
Oh, that'd be a great name for an album. Let's call it that.
It really is a code.
It became a motto as well. As we were working through the album, we just felt our way through the whole thing, and it just became quite fitting.
Plus, Damon came up with it. We almost called the album that back in the 70s, but we didn't. So I just figured, well, we'll just do it now.
So it's a kind of tip your hat to Half Machine Lip Moves. What does Half Machine Lip Moves mean to you?
Damon, I go, how did you come up with that title? And he goes, he was looking at a dumpster, and this bum was opening up the dumpster, talking to this other bum as the dumpster. I know, it's really a weird story, you know. And he said he saw the dumpster door open, and he said it looked like a machine while this bum was talking, and it just came to his head for some reason, and he liked it. So
it was a vision of the future.
Evidently. Oh, that brings me perfectly to my next question. Can you say something about I read about this UFO experience that you had, Helios, when you were an 18-year-old kid. Yeah, I did. Me and two friends of mine, we were in Hawaii, and I was sitting on a hill, and he tapped me on the shoulder and said, look up. And I looked up, and there was a UFO hovering over our heads, you know, and I wouldn't have believed it unless he was with me and he saw it too. So, yeah. And around that time, there was a lot of sightings, and it was a very moving experience, you know. Late 60s and early 70s, you know, when I was a kid. And the acid was really good, you know.
And I had a lot of really crazy experiences that I can't explain.
We always have to sort out our strange experiences when we're calling them.
I mean, I haven't done anything like that in a while, but I used all those experiences to, you know, help put together my idea of what probably Chrome is, and Damon's input too. You know, I mean, I don't know what he was up to at the time. He was in L.A. at art school, and I was
to Morocco.
Yeah.
He went to Morocco and he picked up Moroccan street music, and that's one of the places that he got the idea for Chrome is a like Oriental street music with a 4/4 collage background.
Yeah, he did have a gong, like some kind of 22-inch gong, and that was the one we used on Half Machine Lip Moves. I think there's a gong on that.
Yes.
And he said he had it at the airport, and he just set it down for a minute, and he said he was just buying his ticket, and some guy was standing on it, you know. So, let's cut off my gong. It's worth a lot of money, you know.
I mean,
but that's the gong we used in it on Half Machine Lip Moves. It's a funny story.
Yeah, it's also very synchronistic as well, because my next question was there's a track on the new album called Prophecy. And the track opens up with the William Burroughs 3x3 ritual.
Yeah.
Were you influenced by William Burroughs at all?
No, well, a little bit, but Aleph was really influenced by him.
The Burroughs, the cut and paste thing really plays in with Burroughs.
Yes, we when we were putting that together, I go, we're all going to make a piece for this song, you know, whatever you think it should be, you know. And Aleph and Lux put together that. I put together the middle part, backwards drums, me and Keith, and we all, you know, wrote the song Prophecy for the end. I had everybody write a line, so nobody's stuck with anything, you know.
But originally, the Burroughs piece was its own piece of music as well that was stood on its own, and when we started collaging the album together, it became the most suitable intro to Prophecy, which was the first single on the album, which is also, like, you know, just what its title reflects, which is Helios' view of.
Oh, it sounds really wicked, you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, it's unusual because this year is William Burroughs' 100th year anniversary, strangely enough, and I was curious whether you guys actually knew that.
No, that's a coincidence.
That's an amazing coincidence. I mean, do you believe in synchronicity and coincidences, or?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's like our religion.
Actually, I said that to you, but I don't really even believe in coincidences anymore. You know,
it just
which changes your reality. You know, quite a bit. You know, like wow, if there's no accidents, you know.
It's like they said in that Batman film. Once you know, you can't believe in coincidence anymore. That's why
do everything on purpose, I guess. I don't.
Yeah, subconscious. We could take a lot more credit for things. Well, it's good that Burroughs is on a new album for his 100th birthday.
Yeah, I guess so. Or you don't want to take credit for it,
right.
So you want to blame it on accident.
It kind of leads me to my next question. In one of the interviews I read, you were talking about that you had your own personal psychic.
Oh, yeah, Janice, I think. Yeah, through a friend. Through some friends in San Francisco. She's pretty good, I think.
That's just one of your many.
I mean,
you know, he's got.
I think she's about 95% accurate.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, nobody's ever 100%, but she seems to be about 95.
Yeah,
unless she gets flustered, and then she kind of, you know, that's when she messes up, or whatever the word is. You know, that's when she messes up, or pissed off, or whatever.
Well, that happens to the best of them.
So have you used her predictions in your music at all?
Actually, I was using her to find out who was ripping me off.
Very useful.
And she was really good at it too. She was really good at finding out that kind of stuff. But I have asked her a lot of unusual questions, you know, like the world climate and all that. But she doesn't seem to do that, you know.
A lot of your own research.
So yeah. you got to do your own research, on the internet, and then half of that is bullshit. So, yeah, it just all goes into the music, all the things that are in my head. I studied prophecy, and, everybody's interested in that these days. So I decided to make a song about it, which I never really did into any kind of organization, And I think it just ties in with the UFO thing,
I always felt that Chrome was a hardcore band, never so psychedelic in the kind of easy, comfortable sense. Like,
we never wanted to be comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it seemed to open metal doors that demanded some kind of strength or something to get through.
Yeah.
The next section is people that you've worked with, because you actually worked with Nick Turner from Hawkwind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I went on tour with Nick and Del and Dentmar and Tommy Grenis, you know.
Yeah.
And I got that gig through Tommy, you know, and they said they needed a guitar player, and they needed a drummer too, and I got my drummer to do it, you know. So that was interesting. I just thought, wow, this could be interesting, you know, learn something about the old school fellas, you know.
Mm.
And still have that keyboard player. Tommy is the same guy.
Yeah. Tommy's still our keyboard player. You know, Tommy's been in the band a long time. He's the one who took Damon's place. Yeah.
And you were also playing. You also played some tracks on the Butthole Surfers albums, because I understand they were very influenced by Chrome.
Yeah, Clean It Up and the Annoying Song. I don't think one of them didn't make it on the record, or I don't know if it made it on or not. But yeah, they didn't say my name on the record, but that's not unusual because they don't even put their own names on the record.
In the first albums that you made, what was the reason not to put your own images on the albums?
I think we were probably too self-conscious, too young, you know, didn't know if we looked. We would take these pictures of ourselves and think they look good, and then we'd blow them up and go, God. So we decided, you know, we just started making collages and shit.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the way it started. We just never felt like confident enough to be. We were kind of like kids pretty much when we started, and Damon was pretty self-conscious about his photographs. He'd take like tons of photographs of himself and really dig on one, and then we'd blow it up and he'd look like totally different.
So you made all the artwork yourselves then? All the collages and everything were made?
Yeah, Damon made most of them. The only one I have ever made was the one No Humans Allowed. I made that cover.
So going back again to people that you've worked with or people that you've come into contact with, you played on a compilation album with the Residents.
Yeah, right. Submodern.
So do you know who the Residents are?
Well, I knew who a couple of them were, but I don't even know if they're still doing it anymore as far as the same guys. I knew Homer and a guy that called himself H, but I don't know what H stood for, but yeah. Homer and this guy named H that worked and had red hair. And that I just, you know, we just hung out with them in those early days, and, you know, I don't really know. You know, I haven't really seen him since then, or, you know, had communication. I went there a few times when Damon was still alive. You know, we sort of weren't happening anymore, and hung out. And then I haven't seen him since. You know,
it's just one of those mysteries.
Yeah, I guess
as to who they are.
Yeah, I heard that they sold it to somebody, but I don't know if any of that's true.
I guess anything's possible if you wear an eye on the head.
Yeah, and I could tell you a thing about that eyeball thing. I guess I could tell you about it. Damon did the Alien Soundtrack's eyeball head thing.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And if you look at the date, it's before the Residents did their eyeball head thing. And when they did that, Damon was really pissed off that day, you know. I go, what's wrong, man? He's breaking chairs and windows and shit. I go, dude, what's wrong? He goes, the Residents stole my idea with the eyeball heads, you know. And, and I go, really? And yeah.
Wow, they made a whole career out of it.
Yeah, they did. I go, well, yeah, they could thank you for it, I guess, you know.
Indeed.
So we decided, dude, that's when we went to the Lion Head.
Yes.
With balls on it and shit.
You also met Kurt Cobain as well, as far as I've read.
Yeah, once, a long time ago, about 3 months before he died, at a concert in L.A. The Butthole Surfers were opening up for him at the time. That's how we, got to meet him, through Gibby and Paul. He seemed like a very shy fella and kind of paranoid.
From what I read in the article, you were saying that he said he was going to change. He wanted to change his music in a more radical direction.
I heard stuff like that, and then I heard that he was, he was hanging out with Gibby a lot. And he was really influenced by, the Butthole Surfers. You
also met the bassist of Led Zeppelin as well, as far as I understand.
Yeah, John Paul Jones. That's when I recorded on the Butthole Surfers album. He was producing, I think the name of it was Independent Worm Saloon. Yeah, he was producing it, and I met him, and that was very good hanging out with him. He just had tons of great stories about Led Zeppelin and stuff. I could say one. He'll probably be pissed off at me because I don't think he wanted me to tell anybody, but maybe I should anyway, get him pissed off at me. I don't know.
Hey,
but anyway, he told me this one where they were playing some benefit, and David Gilmour had all his stuff set up really, he doesn't want anybody going around his stuff. And I think Roger Daltrey was there or something, hanging out or something. And all of a sudden you heard a bunch of screeching and squealing and, guitar noises and shit. And everybody looks out there and there's Daltrey, jumping up and down on Gilmour's effects with the guitar in his hand and the amps on, and and David Gilmour's freaking out and stuff. And yeah, he told me that story. I hope I got it right. Anyway.
You also met Genesis P Orridge, or I think you actually worked with Genesis P Orridge.
Yeah, I had a recording studio going for a while, and I recorded some keyboard stuff, and I did work with them. He actually got in on the Hawkwind last show, and it was funny because Nick and Dale didn't know who he was. Nick goes up to me and he goes, "Who's that guy?" He's just setting up on stage like somebody asked him to play, but nobody did. And, that's just the way Jen is. And Nick and Dale go, "Who's that guy?" And oh, that's Genesis P Orridge, blah blah blah. And told him all this shit, and
what was he like what was he like then to work with?
Oh, he's a really cool dude. I love Jen. He's a very interesting fellow. I love Throbbing Gristle and Psychic TV and shit. They did a show here not too long ago. Yeah, he's really. I like Jen. He's not exactly what you think he is, I mean, pretty wild, crazy guy, but he's really a nice guy. He is.
I see the people and they crack the waves.
Many of your albums are available on YouTube through your own doing. Was that a deliberate decision to kind of open source?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I have a lot of friends that put my stuff on YouTube too. That sort of do it on their own. Yeah, that's kind of neat. You can say hi to Brent.
Hi, Brent. Usually, Brent Marley is the #1 Chrome archivist, I would say.
Yeah, he's probably archiving this right now.
Yeah.
He's the guy who runs your HeliosChrome.com, is that correct?
Yeah, you could.
It's got everything on it.
He's sort of like the historian of currently,
If all your albums are available on YouTube, how do you manage to survive from your album sales?
Well, I mean, you can't really do that. You have to. You have to sort of.
No one does that.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you get a nice check, but
Sure.
it's a survival. You have to have some kind of, scam somewhere. But touring is pretty good. If you could tour all the time, that would be fine. Except you kind of burn out after a while.
Talking about touring, again, another kind of interview that I read with you said that you had many touring tales, one of which was seeing regular vehicles on fire.
Oh, yeah, there was this one tour. It just seemed like everywhere we went, we'd see a burning vehicle, like, oh, there's another one burning up, Mostly on the East Coast of the United States, It was kind of strange. We saw about 4 or 5. I don't know.
And can you tell the story of the naked lighting man?
Oh, yeah. I like your questions. Yeah, well, his name was Ziggy. He was a German guy, and he was doing the lights for Nick Turner, which Nick broke throughout the tour. He broke just about every one of Ziggy's lights. And all of a sudden, we're driving from the club, and we see this guy, we're driving from sound check, back to the hotel, and we see this guy running down the street naked, We go, wow, this is a crazy town. Look at this. Here's a guy running down the street naked. We didn't know who it was, So we just kept driving, and then about an hour or two later, this cop is knocking at our door, Hello, that's the police. Oh, shit, what's going on, They open the door, and Ziggy's wrapped in a blanket. We found this guy, running down the road naked. He said he's with you. Is he with you? And I go, yeah, he's with us. And yeah, he did like 2 hits of acid and took off all his clothes and took off running around town, And that's who we saw running down the street. So we took him in the room, and he was like mumbling to himself. And, I shortly found out after that Nick Turner did a hit of acid. Nick Turner and Dale Denmore did like a hit acid every day, every show. And I go, how do you do that? How do you do that? I mean, this isn't the 60s. Where do you even get it? But yeah, they managed to, it's just, I mean, I could tell you a million stories about that tour, but we'd be here for days. It makes Spinal Tap seem like a serious rock documentary.
Finally, that we have some fan questions. First of all, Leon Miraglia says, how did you record the very first 2 albums? Because they sounded pretty basic.
Yeah, they were. Actually, they were recorded in a living room on a Tascam, a Sony 4-track and a Tascam half-track. And I don't think Damon ever recorded before that, He acted like he knew what he was doing, so I just sort of went along with it. And I didn't know anything about recording at the time. So, yeah, and those 2 records were recorded on the same stuff. Although I do think Half Machine Lip Move sounds a little better than Alien Soundtracks, as far as quality goes. Yeah, it's recorded in a living room.
Okay, and appropriately enough, I suppose, John Evans asks, how many LSD trips have you taken, and if early Chrome got groupies?
Well, early Chrome didn't have as many groupies as some bands that we knew because we didn't play out very much. But so I think we missed out on a lot of that in the early days, you know. Yeah, I did a lot more acid back then than I do now, you know. Every once in a while I like to do a peyote or a shroom or something like that. But back then, yeah, we were doing, at least I was, doing a lot of acid.
Okay, next question. Sarah Bonaventura asks, who is Sister Sarah? Apparently you dedicated a song to her on your solo album, Boxing the Clown.
Well, we were playing with the drummer Ray Washam from a band called Scratch Acid.
Oh, yeah.
And I had a real thing about Sister Sarah, you know, and Clint Eastwood and all this shit. And so we'll, you know, and we were making this song, and he goes, hey, man, let's call it Sister Sarah. And so he brought that up again, and okay, we'll dedicate it to Sarah, whoever she is, you know. And I guess it was a girlfriend of his, you know. So it kind of came out in a song. You could thank Ray for that.
Yeah. And next question from Craig Stevens. What was Tom Hazelmere like as a label boss for Amphetamine Reptile? That was, again, for your solo works.
Oh, a very interesting fellow, you know. He plays guitar himself and had a band called The Flies, which I really liked, and did a lot of work, you know.
We saw him last year.
Yeah. And we did run into him about a year ago. We did a show in L.A. for AmRep benefit, or I don't forget what it was.
It was he had an art opening at Shepherd Ferry's place.
Yeah.
H played solo along with members of the Melvins, like Buzzo and stuff.
Yeah, and Hammerhead.
Hammerhead, yeah. So then there was a show that Helios Creed full band played at the Echoplex across town, and so they put on this huge show for Lee Hazelmeyer after his art gig. And it was
Tom Hazelmeyer. Sorry, Tom.
It's early. Tom Hazelmeyer.
Yeah.
And so he's, you know, still doing it.
Another question from Minui Delacroix. Having lived in San Francisco, he says, and lovely Santa Cruz, do you have any studio recordings in which you purposely try to capture the spirit of the Bay Area or Californian coastal energy?
Well, lately we've been tripping on how haunted Santa Cruz is. It's, I think, one of the most haunted places in California.
Studio was haunted.
Yeah, and the studio recorded and was supposedly haunted.
They found a picture of this woman in Victorian garb, like,
remember the orb around my head?
Inside of the wall. Yeah, there was that. I mean, yeah, it's like the fucking X-Files over here.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of weird stuff like that. There's this one thing we're researching. It's this mansion where these nuns stayed, right?
Oh,
you know the story.
The Rispin Mansion,
and we went there and took some videos. We got a lot of orbs and demon.
We pretty certain that there's a photo that was passed around, actually, and it caused a bit of a stir among our, you know, friends.
Yeah.
As to whether it was real or not, but I happen to know
really did.
There's
go off on it.
An abandoned mansion in Santa Cruz, and I'd been there years ago. I've lived here for 13 years, and we went in there.
Creepiest place I ever been.
We went back and snapped some photos, and there's totally a two-sided demonic face coming out of the boiler of this fucking garage.
You can't go in. They have it all boarded up. There's no way you could go in. But we're going to go in.
And this is stuff during spray. There's a lot of talk of like LSD.
If you don't hear about us anymore, you'll know what.
Yeah, we're leaving a crumb trail.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. So, what are your interests in ghosts then? Where does that come from?
Well, I just started. I've always been fascinated with that, you know, since I was a kid. But
experience
being in this town with you know, Lou. Anyway, you know, we just started getting into this research thing, and he showed me these. He actually did a show with, what's the name of that place?
The Brookdale.
Yeah.
I used to work at the Brookdale Lodge up in Boulder Creek, which is one of the haunted California spots, like the biggest, there's TV shows on it and stuff. And it's just, I don't know, man, if it's just me, but as long as I've lived here, this stuff has just been all over the place here. And for me, it ties in, it's from personal experience that it finds its way into the music as well.
Oh, you want to hear a great story? All right, we were up in L.A., when we were mixing the Feel It Like a Scientist, right? What's the name of that hotel we stayed at?
Hotel Cecil.
Hotel Cecil. It's a famous haunted hotel.
They found a young woman in a water tower like a year ago.
I heard about this.
Yeah, she went to the elevator.
Yeah.
They have videos of it. She's like freaking out in this elevator like somebody's following her. There's no way she could get to the roof. She goes up to the roof with the elevator. They found her in a water tower that's 12 feet high. There's no way she could get in there. Naked. Drowned. So, all right, so me and him are staying there, right? And we go into the same elevator. And all of a sudden, it's pressed to the top floor. Oh. We didn't press it. We didn't even press the friggin' button,
But we said as we were going, hey, let's go check out that top floor. We walked into the elevator. We were going to go up. So no one was in the elevator to have pressed the button. It was fucking scary.
So we go up to the top floor, and I'm just following our nose, right? And there's a window open. The windows are always locked and shut, because they don't want anybody going up there. But the window's open, so I go out on the ledge, climb up on this ladder all the way to the roof, and I see this guy working on these, these water towers. And I saw the water tower that girl drowned in.
It's still there.
Yeah, that was weird. That was very weird because you couldn't go up there, but we were led up there.
It's this feeling that happens when those things are happening that seems to happen to he and I a lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty odd, to be honest.
It is odd.
So we're excited to see what happens when we try going to Europe now.
Oh, yeah. Europe is totally haunted.
Yeah, I know.
We were watching something on Prague last night.
About every square foot of Europe, somebody died.
I saw a ghost in Spain. The first ghost I actually saw in Spain across in another building, even just walking by at 5 a.m. as I couldn't sleep.
Yeah, I saw one here in my room here.
Oh, yeah. With tight pants on.
Yeah, wearing tight rock pants. Can you see that? I mean, what the fuck,
We're big brats.
So, are there any rituals that you do before you play?
Not anything serious, just, may the force be with you. Yeah, we're not into like dark forces or anything like that.
No, sure, of course.
Just in case, because some of our music seems kind of dark. We like to explore dark places.
It's sort of like you make fun
I'm
of
the first one to go to a Black Sabbath concert, back in the day.
Sure. Yeah.
But I did live 2 blocks from the Bohemian Grove.
He just figured that out.
The Bohemian Grove thing. I lived 2 blocks from there, and I found out about it, about a year before I moved from there. That whole thing. Do you know about that?
No, I haven't heard.
The leaders. That's where the leaders of the elite hang out. Of America. The president and all those people.
It's just north and across from San Francisco,
and they do satanic rituals there.
Well, there's alleged Masonic ties and things like that. It's all this sort of umbrella of this weird world that we are exploring, and so we're less invested in it in a personal way to gain, more so to understand what really happens in the world and like what we're trying to help deliver people from. Really.
Oh, basically, we decided that the world's ran by a bunch of scumbags.
Yeah.
It's been proven.
But there's good. There's just as much good. But
that's funny.
If you could change something, Helios, if you became like the leader of the world or something like that, what would you do on your first day at work?
Gee, have a bowl of cereal.
oh, that's good.
No, I would.
You'd have to think about things for a while.
Yeah, I'd have to think about what I'm going to do. But I guess I would make radiation illegal. Nuclear radiation power plants. I'd make that illegal. It's a little too late now, I guess.
Because on your new album, Feel It Like a Scientist, you have a Fukushima title.
That's on Half Machine from the Sun. That's these are lost tracks of Chrome that haven't come up before. That came out last year, didn't it? He had a Nagasaki on there, so I go, well, it doesn't have anything to do with ahead of its time or anything, but we just threw Fukushima on there,
Sort of another synchronicity. I mean, that has just happened in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And here on Santa Cruz and on the coast, we were on full alert when that happened. I mean, I had to grab my cat and evacuate my apartment for fear of tsunami, you see.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. They tried to get me out of here, too. I wasn't going anywhere.
Finally, I want to say that I met you many, many years ago in Brighton because we did projections, or I did projections for your performance in Brighton. Funnily enough. And afterwards, I came up to you and said, hey, how you doing? And you just kept repeating ST37, ST37, ST37.
I was probably batted by being on the road for, I think it was like 2 months, and I was probably losing my mind. Or something.
Where was that? Where did that happen?
That was in Brighton, in England.
Sorry about that.
Oh no, not at all. It was a big memory, and I've always wondered what ST37 meant.
Well, it was a mouthwash back in the '70s, mid '70s. I don't think it lasted very long, but we sort of started thinking of it as a drug,
Sort of like a sci-fi element in reality.
Yes, I can understand. Were you ever influenced by Philip K. Dick at all? His stories.
Well, I have been recently.
I'm very into that.
Yeah, I'll always have a member in the band that seems to be into that, and revealing knowledge and stuff. And
he's someone that's truly prophetic, I think. Like, and it sounds odd, but we're the second most drug-addled band on that list, and lately I've been really into Scanner Darkly. That list we made of the drug-addled bands of all time, and he really describes the lifestyle that seems to be occurring in this sort of dystopian age, in like a Scanner Darkly, and even now with the technological developments in the military, it's just gotten strangely parallel strangely similar to that fiction of Philip K. Dick. So, you know, we're a Blade Runner type of thing.
Actually, you've just reminded me, because listening to your new album, Feel It Like a Scientist, I was making some notes about some of the tracks, and this track, Captain Bosun, I wrote down, haunting vocals and synths take me on this journey across an icy landscape. This is sci-fi. I can see this in a new Blade Runner movie. Can you imagine yourself doing the soundtrack for apparently there is a prequel Blade Runner coming out.
All they got to do is take it and make Blade Runner 3 or something.
We think of that a lot, really a lot, soundtracks, but it's just it's a Chrome thing. It's Alien soundtrack. It's a soundtrack. It doesn't have to be for a film.
I did a couple soundtracks, but it wasn't for anything big, and mostly I've acted in couple movies.
He was in a movie with Willie Nelson.
Well, that's when I was staying in Texas when I recorded with the Butts. You know, he was making a movie, and my wife at the time was an extra. You know, she was a biker mama. You know, so I turned out to be the drug dealer. It was in the. I turned out to be the drug dealer for the biker gang. You know.
He actually just showed up for a run.
Yeah, I just showed up, and they picked me out of the crowd. You know, they go, "Hey, you look like a drug dealer." But they had the real Texas gang there, Texas Outlaws, and some of the Angels were there, and you know, they were all really nice guys, I thought, you know, and they wanted me to be the drug dealer. So I was the only guy in the bar that wasn't dressed up like a biker.
So Helios, you're now preparing for your European tour, and you arrive in Europe next week?
Yeah, in a week. Yeah, live in a week. Yeah, it's crazy.
And you're playing Germany, France, UK?
Yeah,
Czechoslovakia,
Czech Republic,
Barcelona.
If anyone wants to contact you, find out where you're located, how would they find out?
Well, there's Facebook, and then there's our booking agent.
We do everything very fan sourced. So Facebook,
if they contact our booking agent, maybe they could get a hold of us. You know,
I mean, you're using the new technology, so like Facebook, and I guess they can look you up on.
If they write us on Facebook,
yeah, I actually try to talk to people on Facebook. You know, I mean, but you know, not lately since the tour's coming up. I guess people are getting excited, and there's too many people to talk to right now, but it's usually not like that, you know.
Thank you very much this evening.
Yeah.
for this.
Will we be seeing you at any of the shows?
Indeed, in Berlin.
Oh, Berlin, you're going to be in Berlin.
Yeah,
great.
We're broadcasting directly from Berlin, so.
All right.
And I'll be at your Berlin show, so.
We'll fill you in on our findings between now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear about all your ghost hunting.
Yeah, well, I will tell you what we run into. For some reason, me and him together seem to run into a lot of shit.
You've been listening to How Many Years Too Soon? And that was an interview with Helios Creed and Minatti from the seminal band Chrome. And this was a radio